Hi guys, and welcome back to the Player YouTube channel. And today, well, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I thought we would start our review of this car that we're driving today out on the road, because normally I'm stood in front of the car, in front of a lovely building, and that gets a bit monotonous. So here we are out in the Toyota Corolla. Yes, the Corolla, the new Corolla. Well, it's not that new, because the Corolla's been around since 1966, would you believe? And probably there's a number of you watching weren't even born then. Back in 66, Toyota launched this, not even thinking it was ever going to be around in 2019, which it is now. And, you know, to their surprise, by 1974, this car was the most popular car in the whole world. It outstripped all other cars, even including the VW Beetle, which at the time was hugely popular. But this little car, this Toyota Corolla, was number one. And by 2016, they'd sold over 40 million of these worldwide. That's pretty incredible. That's almost a statistic that you can never ever forget. What are the most number of cars ever sold? Toyota Corolla, 40 plus million. Now, 2 years ago, Toyota decided to suspend the production of the Corolla, and they brought out a new car called an Auris, or Auris, however you want to say it. I'm not going to get into an argument with you over that. You have the right to say it whichever way you want. Either way, what a stupid name for a car. There have been many stupid names for cars, but an Auris, where I come from, sounds very similar to something like your backside. And I'm afraid in 2 years that car was in production, it just didn't do as well. I mean, I always say, don't mess with an engine if it's running well. Just don't tinker with it. Leave it. If it's running well, let it run. But I suppose with, you know, advances in technology and things like that, Toyota must have thought to themselves, well, let's have a change. We've got the biggest and most popular selling car in the world. Let's not produce it anymore. Let's produce something with a stupid name. So I'm not going to drag on about it. They did. But they came to their senses, guys. They suddenly realised, oh dear, we're not selling anywhere near as many as we did on the Corolla. So they brought back the Corolla, and this is 2019 version of the Corolla. Corolla, now, it actually means a small crown, like a coronet, a little crown that goes on your head. And I bet you, when Toyota designed this car and launched it back in 1966, they had no idea that it would end up as the crown jewel in their jewellery box. And that's exactly what it has done. It is the crown jewel. It's the biggest selling car that Toyota have ever produced. This car, the new modern version of the car, comes in 3 different shapes. So the first shape is the hatchback, which is what we're in today. There is a saloon car as well, slightly bigger, slightly longer. And then there is a touring version of this car, which is basically the estate version. It's touring sports, they call it. Toyota's word for an estate car. And the estate is absolutely stunning. I saw it back in Geneva earlier on this year at the launch, and it really is a good looking car. All of these cars are exceptional looking. The cars start at the bottom of the range in the hatchback from around £21,000, which isn't bad at all. And I'm sure if you have a look around, there are a number of sites which do the financing. You can get this slightly less, because the residual value on this car is anticipated to be very, very good. So therefore that makes leasing these cars extremely good and very good value for money as well. Top of the range cars, you're talking sort of 29, even £30,000 with everything on them. But we'll talk about that when we actually get outside and go around and jump in all over the car. That's more bits and pieces we can talk about. There are 3 different styling packs that you can buy in this particular Corolla. So in all of them, I beg your pardon, the hatchback, the saloon and the estate, you can get an icon, that's one styling pack. You can get a design, that's another styling pack. And for the top of the range, with the all singing and dancing, everything you want on this car, there is another pack called the XL. And there is also an XL with a panoramic roof, which, to be honest, I think is probably just pushing it a little bit too far, because panoramic roof, do you really need it these days? Just a nice sunroof would be good. Let's get a quick look around this car. Let's jump in the back, let's jump in the boot, let's just take a good look around for you, and we'll then summarise what we think of the brand new Toyota Corolla. So guys, I think you're going to agree it's a pretty good looking car. It's almost like, I don't know, a Volkswagen Golf and a Honda Civic got together and sort of made babies. This is probably what they would look like. It's got some really striking lines in it as well, and I love these LED lights around the front. And this is all standard, by the way. Let's check out under the bonnet, because this is where it starts to get interesting. And when I mean interesting, well, check that out. What a clean, nice, easy engine to work on. And look at the space around it. It's really nicely proportioned. You can't beat a decently proportioned engine. That's what my mum used to say, and my dad. Let's talk engines, seriously, on a proper note. The 1.2 version of this is a 4-cylinder petrol engine. There are 3 petrol engines. They're all 4-cylinder. There's a 1.2, and that is the only engine in this range that you can get a manual gearbox with. All the others have an 8-speed auto gearbox. This is the middle of the range. This is the 1.8 hybrid. Now, there is a 2-litre hybrid as well, just a little bit more brake horsepower. Both of them 0 to 60 times, really not that relevant, 11 seconds, you know, and top speed around 112 miles an hour. It's not going to break any records, guys, but where it does break records, in my opinion, and this is one of the first records we've ever broken with a manufacturer, is they told us that this car would do between 56 and 66 miles to the gallon. It does. That's breaking a record with us anyway, because every time we normally get told what the miles per gallon is, it never gets anywhere near it. But this one has constantly delivered the 57, 58 to the gallon. Absolutely amazing car. Now, let's talk why we're getting that is because hybrid. Now, there is a difference with hybrid engines. If you don't know, listen and learn. A full hybrid means you have the use of an electric motor under 30 miles an hour. And that's it. So there's no petrol running under 30 miles an hour, just the actual electric motor. Then over 30 miles an hour, the engine itself kicks in. That's a full hybrid. Anything else is not a full hybrid. And that's exactly what these are. And that is why we are getting that economy. Because as we've been driving around town under 30, we've only been using the electric motor. And it charges itself. So don't think you've got to go back into, you know, one of these charging stations. Oh, no, no, no. This charges itself off the brakes. It has a regenerative, hey, I actually said that properly, braking system. So it absorbs stuff like braking, coasting when you take your foot off the gas, car coasts along, it will build the battery back up and it will keep that battery at a level. And then when you come into town and you don't need that petrol engine pumping all those fumes out, overheating, getting all horrible, it runs on an electric motor. The only thing I have noticed before we go and jump inside at the front, you don't, people when you come up to crossings and things like that, they don't know you're there. So you have to remember, you're not driving the petrol engine anymore, suddenly you're on electric. And people do tend not to hear you coming. So beware of that when you're driving this car. Let's get inside, let's get up front, because there is bags of tech and safety equipment on this car, and I want to show you exactly what it all does for that nice £21,000 starting price. Up front, the first thing you're going to notice is these lovely bolstered seats with this really nice red stitching. It's more synonymous with a much more expensive car than this, and I quite like the material as well. It's very soft. So you're going to get a good couple of hours in this car before the need to have to step out and stretch your legs. Massive great 10-inch TFT touchscreen. It's got everything you want on there. It's got the phone on there. It's got your maps and your navigation and everything. Very easy to use as well. Simple buttons set up here. So simple. Love it. Just below is the heating panel here. So you've got all your air conditioning controls. Comes as standard with even on the lower, on the Icon models. That all comes as standard as well. You get 2 up front heated seats as well, and then there's a space just behind those 2 buttons for a mobile phone or some sunglasses, as in mine are at the moment. There are 3 modes on this car. They are at the front there, just in front of this 8-speed gear shifter, the 8-speed gearbox. And the 3 modes are economy, normal and sport, would you believe? And the sport, to be honest with you, just makes loads more noise in the gearbox, doesn't really go any faster. Next to it is the EV button. Now the EV button is the electronic vehicle button, and basically what that does, that tells the car that when it gets to 30 mile an hour under that, then please use the electric motor, because you might not want that when you're in the economy mode, because you could be on a motorway or something and you're not really that bothered about how much fumes you're kicking out the back. There is a nice double cup holder here, and as I said, this is an 8-speed auto gearbox. The car itself here up front, the steering wheel, we've got all the different bits and pieces, the safety mode. So we've got autonomous braking in town. So if someone walks out in front of you, a kid or a dog or a stray bicycle or something, I don't know, it will automatically brake for you. It takes over, it thinks a lot quicker than the human brain, believe it or not. It comes with lane departure warning systems, it can keep you in the lane, it's got distance control when you set it up in cruise mode, it's got sign recognition system built into it, and it's also got an auto high beam on it as well. I don't like them as much because sometimes they don't turn off quick enough, so when a car's coming around the corner you end up blinding the poor bloke or woman or whoever's driving it. It is a supercar to drive. I've enjoyed every second of it, but the one thing that I do reminisce a lot about was back in the 70s when you take your girlfriend out for a night and you've had a few drinks, and on the way home you just decide, I'll pull over just for a little bit of rest, if you get my drift. The one thing I always loved about the Toyotas were the suicide seats, as I call them. Something like this. There you go. How quickly are you in the relaxed mode position? And they do go quite a way back, so you could sleep in here quite easily. And I don't know what you guys were thinking. How dare you? So again, round at the back, some really prominent lines on this car. Very, very Honda Civic-y to look at. But I like it. It's quite a cool look. You get the wash wipe on the back here, a little diffuser along the top with a nice little brake light under there. There's no electronic assisted tail lift, but who needs it? It does itself with these lovely little struts as well. Well, as usual, we've got the cheap, horrible parcel shelf. Never mind, we'll do, well, if you can get the thing out, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, why? Where it belongs. Boot, not a bad size, but look at the lip in here. The drop is, you know, as you're trying to get stuff in and out of here, it's going over. There's a few ties in here. There's no 12-volt adapter, but wasn't expecting that. You do get some nice plastic little hooks here for putting your shopping on. This is a 60-40 rear split. I'll jump around here because that's the only way of doing it, and I'll drop them down and show you how much bigger it gets in here. So that's one down. Yes, I know what you're thinking as well. We're going to talk about that when we get over that side. And you've probably noticed it, and if you haven't, you will do any second now. Yeah, well, that is it, guys. That's as far as it goes. Now look at that. I mean, what the hell? So, yeah, it's a real poor design, actually. I suppose if they weren't so big, you could have had these so they then tilt over, but they don't. That's as far as you get. It is a nice space. It's a lot of space, but could have been designed a little bit better. Let's check out what it's like in the back for the passengers. Well, first of all, it's a little bit awkward to get in and out of, but that's not the end of the world. Extremely comfortable, as I expected. I do like this pattern on the seat, and they've continued the red stitching running around there. Got your Isofix points here, which are great, and we'll check out that middle seat in a minute. Let's have a look in the centre here. Well, there aren't any USBs or 12-volt adapters in here, and you've got, well, it's basically heating on and off. That's about it. But there again, I wasn't expecting, you know, that much in the back. I would have expected a little 12-volt adapter. I think that could have worked in the favour of having kids in the back here, but maybe it wasn't designed for kids. The centre transmission tunnel is very low. That's great, which means you can easily slide across like that. And believe it or not, the actual seat is really comfortable for the problem is, I'm just thinking, if you've got a passenger here and a passenger here, it's going to be really tight, because I'm not exactly the world's heavyweight here, and my elbows are stuck right out. So I wouldn't have thought you'd go very far in this car, would you, if you were sitting in the middle there. You do get a nice armrest in the middle, and it is very soft, and a double cup holder there. There is no ski hatch, so there's no way of putting skis. You wouldn't go skiing in this car, there you go. Otherwise you're going to have skis coming out from your ear over there. There's plenty of head, well, say plenty. When I sit back, there is a bit for me, but I'm not exactly the tallest, so I would have thought anyone over 6 foot, don't put them in the back of this car. Apart from that, it's a really super place to be. It's very clean and clinical. So there you have it, guys, the Toyota Corolla, and what a lovely car it is. Don't forget, if you like what you've been watching, please thumbs up, subscribe and comment at your peril. I look forward to catching you with another car next week. This is AJ saying safe motoring. Take it easy.